Hello everyone and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included. It's been a little while since the last episode, but I'm thinking that with this episode we're going to go ahead and start expanding the base upwards. As you can see over here, I've constructed a small water seed setup decontamination chamber using the chlorine that was coming from over here. I've also installed the bigger camera zoom out mod so that you can more easily see the base. Now if you come over here, you can see that we have the water flowing out of here, the polluted water flowing into here, and going through a series of liquid shutoffs and timer sensors. Now, my original idea here is not going to work as well as I had hoped. The idea was that these timer sensors would allow the polluted water to stay in here for a certain amount of time, and then go to a liquid shutoff. And then from there, it would go to the next one, spend about 30 seconds to decontaminate, or longer, and then go on to the next one. Unfortunately, that will not work, and we don't quite have what we need to build the germ sensors for the pipes, which would allow it to work. So instead, what I think I'm going to do is just let it sit in here for a little while, and eventually I'll run it in here and have it decontaminate. But for now, we just won't worry too much about this. As you can see here, I've constructed a liquid airlock. Now, these are very useful. You're going to need them if you want to keep your atmospheres separated. As you can see, I have polluted oxygen over here, and some germs and slime lung, not good stuff. And over here, I keep the oxygen. Now, there's still a little bit of polluted oxygen that came through before this was constructed. And there's the downside of them getting soggy feet whenever they pass through. But this keeps the atmosphere on one side separate from the atmosphere on the other side. Down here I've also constructed a carbon skimmer to reduce the huge amount of carbon dioxide that had built up, trapped in this small area. And I've constructed insulated tile along the outskirts of the base to keep the heat, as you can see here, from leaching in. I do have some heat coming in from the left side, but I'm not too concerned about that right now, and I'm hopeful that I can construct some kind of insulated area over here soon. My goal right now is to get her to demolition, which it looks like I can go ahead and do. There we go. And that will allow me to deconstruct all of these buildings, since I've already used them. And the great thing about this is I will no longer have to worry about constructing here. These buildings gone, I'll be free to move through. These buildings are nice, they're useful, they're handy, but in the end, you don't want them. They're just not worth the hassle of leaving and building around. In the interim between when I last recorded that episode and this one, when I was constructing all of this, I had a severe problem with the mealwood, where for some reason, I'm thinking it's because I didn't have a dedicated farmer at the time. No one harvested it, and so I ended up with, where's Otto? Where is he? There he is. Otto, poor little Otto here, almost starved to death, but we pulled him back from the brink, just barely. The food is a definite high priority right now, and I've constructed the micro musher up here to produce mush bars, which are keeping people alive, if not happy. I'm thinking that I'm going to keep the neural vacillator and construct a small chamber around it. But all the other buildings will go, along with any wire that's constructed there. Now, the power grid is having some slight problems. This standard wire can only handle 1000 watts, or 1 kilowatt, and the potential load is over twice that. So we're going to need to construct separate power grids or stronger power grids, especially when we work on electrolyzers for oxygen production. I have a coal generator down here supplementing the manual generator, and that's provided enough power to run the rock crusher and this complicated and unfortunately now useless setup. which is rather frustrating. I think I can go ahead and... yeah, let's go ahead and flip that. That way this stuff isn't pulling power when it doesn't need to be. You see, that lowers the potential load by about 400 watts. If this wire runs over 1,000 watts for too long, it will take damage in one or two places, and eventually these wires can break, and you will have to repair them, replace them. So it looks like they've cleared up most of this over here. What I'm going to do is... not a really great spot to do this, but I can have them build a ladder down and dig out all this area here. And then I can dump this water straight down into here. Just for now, I'm going to get the nutrient bars. That will give them something a little better to eat than a mush bar. You can also somewhat see the outline of the base, where this, let's see here, this area here, most likely about this height, maybe a little more, will be the outskirts of the base. So maybe about this height, you know, that wide, something about that. Probably no more than this, at least for the initial base. And as these asteroids are smaller, we can already see the edge of the asteroid over here with the neutronium. And I believe we're almost there on this side as well. Generally, your printing pod is pretty much centered, so you'll know when you hit one side here how close you're on the other side. So the thimble reed is once again growing. I have the wash basin here, since apparently they're not... oh, that's why they weren't using it. Well, they were using it too much, I should say. The wash basin... but really I'm just keeping it so I can run the thimble reed. Eventually I'll have them use Atmos suits here, but as of right now I'm not too concerned about that. So I think the main building project right now is going to be closing off where this heat is coming from. And to do that, we're going to expand... so let's just see, they've done that. Might have them dig out just a little bit more. I'll have them go ahead and start deconstructing. Bring some of that water down. Okay, we're doing this first, that's good. This lowers the water level down, so that all this can pour in. And I didn't really think about that, but most of it will go in here. And from here, I can pump it over into here. Apparently there is a hatchling, who somehow was born underwater. I've never seen that before. I don't know how the eggs survived long enough under the water for that to happen, but... you know, I guess that's just how things work here. In whatever asteroid this is. In whatever period of time this is. Things are just a little different. Why is this running? I want this disabled. It's just wasting power. Originally I had that set up to pull the chlorine down. As you can see here, there's oxygen, a little bit of carbon dioxide. And this green here, that's chlorine gas. And I had a lot of CO2 down here, a lot of chlorine, so I pumped it through and piped it in. Which ultimately that was pretty useful. And as you can see here, go to the germs, there are pretty much no germs at all in the water in these liquid reservoirs. But there are germs still in the pipes. In the water here. So that's the idea with the liquid reservoirs, is the pipes, the liquid in the pipes will not be disinfected by surrounding chlorine, but the liquid in the liquid reservoirs will be. So you need to have your germy water stay in the liquid reservoirs long enough to be disinfected, but then also to pump it out of there into a sieve to make use of it. So it's just about proper timing and properly setting up a little system to do that. And this system is almost capable of that, but I couldn't quite figure out what design I wanted to go for. So ultimately we ended up with something that didn't work as well as I had hoped, and for now will not really work. So seeing that that only filled it up about that much, I'm going to go ahead and deconstruct the rest of this. So maybe I'll have this stretch out to about this wall, as it's already, well, it's obsidian. There's some things that you don't want to build insulated tile out of. Obsidian is one, as it has a pretty high thermal conductivity, which means heat's going to pass through there pretty quickly even though it's still insulated tile. Just keep that in mind whenever you're planning your base. This is also a semi-liquid airlock here, which is pretty useful. But this will most likely be the main entrance out of the base over here. There's not too much I need to get over here, but just depending on how things work. There is a cool steam vent down here, which will be pretty useful at some point. I keep wanting to click this to close this down, but that's none of that works. You just hit escape. So with this taken care of, I've got this set up. I'll have them deconstruct and dig through here. It's always annoying when it says unknown. I don't know why it does that, and I don't really know how to clear it either. So I'm just hopeful that they will uncover it here. I think you can go into the dev mode and you can manually reveal it, but I really don't want to have to do that. Yet it is looking like I'll have to do something like that. Unless maybe I can have one fall through, but I don't want any broken bones. Oh well. I'll go ahead and extend this tile out. And no, actually I don't want to do that. I want to have a little layer here. So this is the insulated tile. I'll construct it out of igneous rock. It's pretty slow to heat. And I'll just build it. Well, no, I'll have this be the way out down here. The idea with separating these tiles is air doesn't transfer a lot of heat. It transfers heat to itself pretty quickly, but it's so thin it cannot transfer heat very quickly to other tiles. But if I had these tiles directly touching, then they would transfer heat much more quickly. I'm really hopeful that this will be revealed soon. Maybe when they walk through, they'll be able to see it. Maybe that'll be it. Hopefully they'll walk through. We'll see. Or maybe we won't, if it just doesn't get revealed. So what I'll have here is just some ladders that run through. And I'll have a liquid airlock set up right about here. Pretty much the way I have it set up here. And this will prevent all this heat from coming in. I'm really hopeful that I can find the cold water geysers up here. Those are always a really useful boon to have early on. Especially the, oh, it did reveal it. Great, great. Especially the saltwater geyser. Is it saltwater? It's cool salt slush. That's what it is. That one is great because it generates salt and water. Plus, it's really cold, so it's already great for cooling the base down. I will be setting up an oxygen generation setup, probably a SPOM. Maybe maybe a full Rodriguez unit somewhere up here, where I can cool it with those geysers that are already cold. Now, I will talk more about the full Rodriguez and what that means later. As of right now, it's essentially just a way to generate oxygen and hydrogen, and then to burn that hydrogen to power the whole system. So, an electrolyzer that powers itself, essentially. And so the first thing you're going to notice here is we have insulated tile here, here, and here. I just chose insulated tile to slow down any heat passing from here to here. But you can use any kind of tile, as long as it's not mesh tile, because water and any other liquid will fall right through. And airflow tile is that kind of defeats the purpose of a liquid airlock. So what you do is you fill this to about 1,000 kilograms, and then you add just a little bit more, and that completely closes off any access here. I'll demonstrate that over here. I'll set this one up to be pretty similar. Maybe not the exact same, but very similar. Gonna be about the same height. Always like things to be the same height on every side, always matched up well. Always has to be like that. And I might have messed up just a little bit. Or maybe not. Maybe not. I can just deconstruct this. So what you want to do is put a bottle emptier here. And that bottle emptier will take the water out of here, and dump a little bit of it in here, and then next thing you know, you have a liquid airlock. And on the other side of it, you can construct pretty much whatever you need. Just keep in mind that they won't have the same access to oxygen that they have in here, and that it can be significantly hotter out here. And chlorine, hydrogen, those are unbreathable. Chlorine will cause them some slight irritation in the eyes, and that will slow them down a little bit to make them a little unhappy. So do keep that in mind. Where is it? Auto bottle. There it is. So auto bottle, what that means is they will automatically take any bottles that they find and put it in here of the selected liquid, which is water, and that they will go to the nearest pitcher pump, and they will automatically take bottles of water, carry it over, and dump it here. And so for right now, I don't think I need any new dupes just yet. The next dupe I get will be maybe a chef or farmer. That's what I'm thinking, chef or a farmer. We're doing pretty well right now on food, actually, especially expanding. You find a lot of muckroot, lice loaf comes from here, along with meal lice, nutrient bars that I printed, a lot of good stuff there. Let's just check and see. I don't think anyone else needs new skills. Otto is doing pretty well, as he is. Though you here, Quinn. I might give Quinn improved construction too, just to speed him up on building. Nope. Is someone sick? Okay, so Quinn here has slime lung. So that's not great. I don't know how we caught it. Oh, we have an infected patch of oxygen. So somewhere here we dug up some slime, if I had to guess. Wasn't really paying attention to it. Probably should have been. Now, slime lung, it dies on oxygen. But it takes a little while to do that, so now we're going to have a slight infection problem, infection risk over here. And to help with that, I can build deodorizers. Now, deodorizers, they take polluted oxygen and they convert it into regular breathable oxygen and a little bit of clay. They take about 10 watts of power, and they are absolutely vital for any colony that is just swamped with polluted oxygen. You have to have them. They're so useful, and there's really no reason to not use them. The only downside is they will, over time, use up some of your sand, as that's what they use to filter the water. or air. Now the sieve, that uses sand to filter out polluted water into regular water, and a little bit of polluted dirt. As you can see here, I built compost piles to take that polluted dirt and turn it back into regular dirt, which I then take over here to the mealwood, which grows into food, which the duplicants eat, which they then send back into the system in the lavatory, which then goes over here, gets cleaned, put into the sieve, turned to polluted dirt. You see how the cycle goes. Now the ideal situation is to have cycles that are self-perpetuating. They're constantly continuing, and that's what a SPOM is, like I mentioned earlier. Self-powered oxygen machine. It will run no matter what, powering itself, and sometimes it will even give you a little more power than it needs. So maybe you get an extra 100 watts or so, or you can take that heat and you can turn it into power through steam turbines. This game has lots of cycles that you can make, lots of processes that you can self-power, and learning how to do that and learning the methods are incredibly vital. Also, this poor little Sweedle over here, I don't think he's gonna make it. If he gets any more water, he's gonna start drowning. We're researching pretty quickly right now. I've got, where is he? Where is he? There's Otto. Otto working over here in the research benches. You can tell inside the base here, we have really good breathability. Outside, not so much, but the only place that I really care about being breathable is the inside of the base. Everything else is optional. And once I get, let's see, where is it? Once I get the suits, the Enviro suits, exosuits, over here, then I can have them go out to work in environments where there is no air, or incredibly hot, or things like that. It provides protection and oxygen to any duplicates working out here. I'm going to have a checkpoint here, and a checkpoint here, meaning that they will always put on those suits before they go in the airlock to prevent them from getting soggy feet, and then to protect them once they're on the other side of the airlock. It seems, as of right now, only Quinn has slime lung, and the deodorizer, as you can see, is working pretty well over here. It's taking this polluted oxygen and turning it right into regular oxygen and a little bit of clay. You can look at the germ overlay here. There's still a lot of germs, but they're dying off on the regular oxygen. I'm going to extend the bedrooms over so I can fit a few more people in. And ultimately, I'll probably convert these into standalone bedrooms so that the dupes will be a little happier with their lot in life. So probably about 5, and that will let me, it'll let me cut it up pretty evenly at some point. Yeah, that'll be good. And I'll just put that there. Okay. As I mentioned last video, rooms, really important. You need a washroom, mess hall, as many rooms as you can get that provide a morale bonus. And the private bedroom and barracks do both provide a small morale bonus. The barracks 1, the private bedroom 3, and the luxury barracks, I didn't know that was in the game. The luxury barracks provides 2. And takes comfy beds. Well, that gives me another option here, is instead of building a bunch of private bedrooms, I could build a handful of luxury barracks. And that could be pretty useful. There are other rooms, though, like the power plant, that allow you to up the power generation of your generators, like the coal generator here, for example. But I'll get more into that later. So they're being a little bit slow over here to get this set up, so I'll increase the priority to 7, because I really want this airlock done as soon as possible. I don't want to let any more of this slime lung infected air in. I absolutely have to. And so as you can see here, it's trying to go up, it's trying to form an airlock, but it can't do that until it has at least 1,000 kilograms of water down here. So we're going to go for hazard protection next. So I can go ahead, set up a little checkpoint here, and just not worry about it again. They'll go out, they'll do whatever they need to do, they'll come back in, and they'll be happy. I'm also going to have them start digging up a little bit more out here. Have them go up, see what they can find in nearby areas. Eventually, I will pump this chlorine over here, I'll pump it through the base and into this area to help disinfect. As you can see, there's a little bit of chlorine in here right now, but there's simply not enough. And without plastic, I can't build small pumps, which are a lot more effective in small areas like this. And I also cannot build the... where is it? Where is it? No. The liquid pipe germ sensor, which would allow me to finish this design. Plastic I will not find on this asteroid, but I will find on the asteroid that these will take me to. As you can see, there's a little bit of oil here already. And oil you will need to produce plastic. I can have them put bleach stone down here, which would produce chlorine gas, and then I can pump it into here. But for now, I'm just going to put a storage bin here. And I'll have them put anything that releases gas down into here, or anything like ice that will melt, I'll have them put it down in here. And that will stop it from releasing just into the base or into the wild. Now, as we go farther and farther up, we will find that things get colder and colder. As space is very cold and heat radiates away into space. So once we start getting pretty far up here, we'll notice a significant temperature drop. The abyssalite prevents almost all temperature change. So over here it's 32, over here it's 43, and if this was solid abyssalite all the way through here, completely closing this off, and neutronium on this side, that would almost never change. But because we opened it up, we're going to see temperature shifts throughout different biomes. And sometimes that's useful, like if you have a really hot biome that you need to cool down, or a really cold biome, you can use it to cool other things down. But if you have any critters or plants over here, they can be really negatively affected by this. Like this little Sweetle over here is looking for food, and there is none. But you can also tell here that this insulated tile is working really well. Oh, and there we go. We just did this. I can go ahead and deconstruct it, disable auto bottle, and we'll go ahead and deconstruct that. As you can see here, we now have a liquid airlock. And this will prevent gas transfer, while the insulated tile prevents heat transfer. As you can tell, it is significantly warmer on this side than it is over here now. That is due to just a single layer of insulated tile. No good farmers. Isn't too much of a problem. We still have plenty of food. Plenty of water to make mush bars, plenty of dirt. Plenty of everything that we need. So with the bedrooms set up now, and this going really well, doing very well constructing this, going to go ahead, build a little room for this. Nothing too fancy. Just a door, maybe some decoration in there. Just to keep them happy. And probably a little ladder here. Maybe, let's see, how do I have it set up over here? Just a small ladder set up about like that. And I can go ahead and deconstruct this now, as it's no longer beneficial to have it. It went ahead, it consumed all of that polluted oxygen, or the majority of it, turned into regular oxygen, and I got about 30 kilograms of clay. It's pretty useful. Clay you can turn into ceramic at a kiln, but that generates a lot of heat and I have not yet constructed one. So if the base goes up to about this height, I'll have them go ahead, start working on the insulated tile to get it up to that height, and it should prevent almost all of the heat transfer. As you can see here, the liquid airlock is working perfectly. It's keeping all this chlorine out, keeping all this polluted oxygen out. We did lose a little bit of oxygen flowed through, but for the most part, we have great breathability inside the actual base now. We might be running... Nope, we're doing great on coal. I thought for sure that we would have been running low by now. But going through this biome, there's a lot of coal, so we don't even really need to worry about that. Plenty of iron, plenty of other resources. And so I can go ahead and start working on the exosuit forge. And for that, I'm going to need more refined resources. However, at this point, there's not all that much I can do for that other than just crushing copper down. Now, I'm sure there are better ways to go about this. I could probably go ahead and build a better... Where is it? Better... oh, maybe I can't do it yet. But the better forge, which is much more useful. You get 100% instead of 50%. But for now, I'm happy to just use a rock crusher. We have plenty of copper ore. And if I remember correctly, there are several metal geysers around. So we're not in any danger just yet of running out of metal. And if we have to, we can use iron ore. The cooling system that we'll use for the inside of the base here, as you can tell it is a little warm, will be most likely done with our air production system. With our self-powered oxygen machine, we can cool that air down, convert that excess heat into power with steam generators, and then from there pump that cool air into the base and it will naturally cool everything down. If that's not quite enough, what I can do is I can run a cooling loop around just a small part of the base, or maybe over here, and then maybe another one over here, and that will naturally cool the base down with cold water, or some other coolant running through pipes. The same way I have pipes running over here, so that in the future I can cool this down if it gets too warm. It looks like we completed our research, so we'll go ahead and go for... I don't know. Maybe we won't research anything just yet. Though, let's go ahead and get materials science research going. We're probably not going to be using it just yet, but I want to be ready for that once we get the right radiation technologies. The radiation, it's pretty simple to get a hold of. It's pretty basic, but you do need to be careful that your duplicates aren't getting radiation sickness and that you're not wasting any rad bolts or anything like that. But we'll talk more about that when we actually get to that part of the game. I'm thinking that what I'm going to start doing now is setting up fire poles. Fire poles are pretty useful. They allow you to travel much more quickly through regions of the base, especially when built next to ladders. They come down the fire poles and go up the ladders. It's very slow to go up a fire pole, as you might expect, but going down, there's no faster option, especially early in the game. Now, the reason that I always leave 2 gaps here instead of just one, that you might have noticed and thought, hey, why is he doing that, is to allow airflow. While I do build airflow tiles on the inside of a lot of these places, I don't want to have them everywhere, as they do give negative decor. However, if I leave large open spaces for my ladders, then air will naturally flow through. Carbon dioxide will go down, oxygen will go up, and it will prevent me from having to build airflow tiles absolutely everywhere. You can already see here that things are starting to cool down as the cooler regions over here start to counteract all the heat that had built up in this area. However, we're also seeing some stuff starting to heat up over here, down here with the coal generator, and outside of our little protective shell, out here with the rock crusher and the compost piles. However, for the most part, I'm not too concerned about temperature. Eventually, I will move the coal generator out. I'll probably put it out here or out here. I'll have power generation set up, and we'll most likely rely on steam turbines for a lot of our power. However, lacking plastic, that's not really an option right now. So our goal will be using the teleporters for that. We'll pump it back through here. Well, at the other one of these stations, we'll pump it back through. And I'll probably pipe through water and other materials through here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here. We didn't get as far as I might have liked, but having gone through several cycles that weren't recorded, I felt like I needed to make an episode to talk about all the stuff that I had done, the processes I was using. For some reason, Mima has decided to just stand here. That's her right. But I just wanted to go over the design process that I was using and to show you what an early game base would look like when you were starting to get into the more advanced setups like this and starting to use liquid airlocks, how they would be used in the early game base, and just how to set up things in general. When you're first getting started, what strategies you might want to use with the microbe musher, with the meal wood, and how everything like that can work together to create an early, almost or partially self-sustaining system. But with all that said, goodbye everyone. I will see you all next episode.